this will be a swapcast, right? So here we are. What's up, guys? Pleasure meeting you for the first time.
What up, man?
How's y'all's night going?
Fantastic.
Living the dream, man.
Fantastic. Just excited to keep on putting out shows and spreading all of the truth.
Yeah.
Like crushing all of the fake information that is being put out and into people's minds and everything like that. It could be politically, it could be spiritually. We're all spiritual beings. This is a spiritual battle, and we're here to kind of guide the way.
Indeed.
That's our goal anyway.
What is it? Ephesians, I think the verse that says where it's a spiritual battle, not against flesh, but against the higher forces. I forgot which one it is.
I think you're right on that, brother. And here's the deal also. I mean, we have to all acknowledge at our very core foundation that we are humans. We are spirits having a human experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can call it your soul. You can call it your, what do you call it? The spark?
The spark of God, dude.
Spark
I
of
think
God.
we're all just like some source,
Your
some spark
soul.
from the source of God.
Yeah, the
Right.
divine spark.
Call it whatever flavor you want, but essentially that innermost being of yourself that happens to be in this skin suit at this time is not who you actually are. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I think this is a perfect segue. So if you guys want to plug your stuff, where can people find you over on my end? I'm Juan from the Juan on Juan podcast. You can find me at the Juan on Juan podcast on all social media platforms. Where can people find you over on my side?
We are the Cult of Conspiracy podcast. You can search for us in any podcast platform. If they want to see the video version, we do upload to rockfin.com/cult of conspiracy. People can sign up there. It's $10 a month, and you get everything that was banned off of YouTube.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more now. I think it's 15 now, dude.
Is it?
Yeah, I think they upped it to pay to pay us more.
Yeah. Well, I've also seen that
Those whores.
They have been also. I've seen that they've also been talking about how if you want to only subscribe to one channel, then you pay $5 instead of paying $15 for the whole thing. Which is also a great tool as well, I think.
Oh, that's dope.
That kind of that makes it easier on the price hike, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm on there too. rockfin.com/podcast. And I post on YouTube. We were talking about this before we started recording about how the topics what I love about podcasting is that on the RSS feed, it's decentralized. So it's always going to exist, even if you get taken off the major platforms.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that podcasting is literally right now where you want to be at, because it is going to be censor free for as much as it'll be. Because if you have any podcast 2.0 app, it'll still pick it up regardless. If you get taken off of Google or iTunes or wherever it is. So I think it's important that people use a podcasting 2.0 app. And this leads perfectly into what I wanted to talk about today, because we were going back and forth a little bit trying to find a topic to cover. And I want to talk about, the transference, the transportation of consciousness in real time. So I've talked about the cinemagicians a lot on my channel and how they use sigil magic with movies and all this stuff. And I know you guys have talked about the whole hypnotism, which I want to know how maybe that plays into it, because it's kind of a form of hypnotism, right? The trance that they put people in. And there's this guy, Osman Spare, which was a famous occultist, and he is the father of chaos magic, right? So this is the guy that they attribute this to. And he's a very eccentric guy, because essentially he's the one that came up with, what's the guy's name? The comic book, the one that wrote The Invisibles. Is it Grant Morrison? I think his name is.
The name sounds familiar, but I mean, you tell me that he was the founder of basically the magic of chaos. Yeah, I'm assuming he was a bit of an eccentric, just off of a knee-jerk reaction. I bet the guy was a little bit of a out there human being.
My whole thing is though, dude, because this guy was in late 1800s to the mid 1900s.
That makes sense. The occult in general got a major resurgence around that time frame all over. It was all the rage in Europe. It came to America in a very big way at that time, and it stuck. It planted roots in a lot of big, very powerful, and very influential ways.
Oh, big time, dude. Like Hitler was really looking into all of that.
I'll take
Like
it a step
this is where
further.
the whole Pendulum Institute even comes in. You
remember
heard about that shit?
Yes.
It's crazy.
Now you remember the movie Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr.
Of course.
Remember whenever it was a bunch of elites that were operating within the occult?
Mm.
That wasn't just a movie. There are major societies like that that actually have been operating in secret, but these are also your elites. These are your elected officials. These are your royal families.
This is where, you know, all of the crazy science, the woo-woo magic is really
Right.
brought in. This is where the idea of the vril that Hitler was using,
Yeah.
and using every single possible way to be able to take control of the world, or to be able to defeat different governments who are trying to overtake him and ruin his entire plan of creating a master race of Aryans.
Yeah,
you know, only allowing the blonde-haired, blue-eyed maybe to be able to mimic what he was seeing within these dark magic realms.
Which, and that's that whole argument about the Aryan alien race in Antarctica with that African bird report, right?
So
Yeah,
are they lizard people though, or what? Like, what do you guys think? Are they actual lizards?
I'm hearing so many conflicting stories, and I'm of the belief that possibly multiple things are happening at the same time that are also all true. You feel me? Like,
Well-
just because there are reptilians doesn't mean there's not also another type of alien race doing their own type of shit.
Well, this is what we've kind of dangled the carrot a little bit on this show, as far as, are they reptilians? Are they aliens? Are they fucking are they demons? Okay, and we've dangled the carrot.
So
Jacob has had an experience.
no,
We're not going to go there,
We're not going to go there now.
but
I will tell my story
you
to
have
the
reason
fans
to
one day.
believe that reptilians might be real.
Well, I'm not going to reptilians, not to speak. I would say demons for sure because of my experience and because of the story. I thought that's what you were hinting.
Maybe
at.
tomato. That's what I'm saying.
I get that argument. And I've heard that argument from a lot of people of a lot of different faiths, right? And that's how they justify like the entire Greek pantheon. Oh, well, that was demons portraying themselves in these ways to these people, and they were just reporting and writing and drawing what they saw.
Yeah, like
Okay.
the devil is kind of giving out all these different
That-
kind of jobs to different Greek gods and whatever.
While that may be true, that is also such a massive cop-out of people not being able to explain things that they don't understand. You just took away this entire civilization's culture from them and chalked it up to some little neat box that fits into your little brain.
And that's kind of an issue that I have with
You know what I
religion
mean?
overall. It's
Yeah.
that if it is anything not of God or not of Jesus,
It's
that
demonic.
it is the devil.
Yeah.
See,
You know what I'm
see,
saying?
we've had that talk as well. I don't necessarily agree with that. While I get the talking point on a broad spectrum, I also believe that's painting a massive thing with a broad brush. For instance, classical music. We
Mm.
talked about that, right?
Mhm.
So Mozart, if I'm not mistaken, wrote an entire classic music album, so to speak, of all erotic music.
Yeah.
If I never told you that and I played one of these songs for you, you would think of some sort of opera. You would think it's classical music.
Does it
would
make you
know
horny?
nothing about it. I guess it made him horny, bro. He was one of the songs is literally "Lick Me in the Ass." I'm not joking.
Wait, hold on.
Yo, Mozart was a fiend, dude.
What
It was
the
a-
fuck?
It's a thing. It's a leak marn ass. It's a whole thing, bro. So my point is though, his intent behind it was bad or quote unquote morally unsound. Call it whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not here to judge. But my point is, you wouldn't know the difference because how could you? So I call classical music, for instance, a gray area.
They say
And
you learn
so-
new things
but-
every day. And
Oh yeah, bro.
But really, you can see how music has evolved, basically staying on the same track. Whenever you got, what is that one Cardi B song that's playing on the radio? My daughter listened to this fucking song on the
Yeah,
radio.
WAP.
Everything
about
Cardi puts
You
out
can
is
lick
trash.
it, you can ride it, you
Yo.
can. I'm just like, what the? Why is that on the radio,
Yeah.
My
dude?
fucking kids were jamming out to Rihanna S S S N
Yeah,
M, and I'm like, y'all, what?
yeah, dude.
'Cause
So-
I know I don't listen to Riri.
yeah.
So all stuff aside, right? You have demons, you have angels, you have all this stuff. The one thing that this guy was known for was he was a visionary artist, and he would create images of demons and spirits. But here's the thing, that were raised up from deep levels of consciousness. So this guy was saying that if you look deep down enough, because we don't know what consciousness is, right? And you were talking about how the intention of something behind whatever it is that you're putting out, you don't know what it originally was. So
Okay.
when these guys are making these movies in Hollywood, you don't know what intention that they're putting out there, and people are just eating this shit up, and they're just ingesting it, and they don't care about it, whatever it is. Even if you don't consciously believe in it, but your soul believes in it, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're trying to target your soul, so your soul believes in it. And this guy was talking about these things are in your consciousness. What do you guys think about that?
Absolutely.
Well, dude, your subconscious doesn't understand the word no. Okay, so whenever it is seeing something, and you could say, maybe you're a drug addict, right? And you're constantly thinking, no drugs, no drugs. I don't want to do any drugs. Or you're trying to, stop smoking cigarettes. I don't want to quit. I don't want to quit. I don't want to quit. All your mind is hearing, because it doesn't hear no, it doesn't hear don't, it doesn't hear stop. It just hears cigarettes, 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 drugs, drugs, drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way that they get you with all these subliminal messages.
Yeah, man.
Because even if you morally know, you consciously know that these things are bad or these things are wrong, or that you would never intake or ingest or any kind of this garbage, it's still playing into your subconscious. It's staying on your mind, and therefore feeding into whatever your eyes are trying to perceive to you. Because our eyes, I mean, we could see a fucking wreck, right?
But the eyes are also the windows to the soul, if I'm not mistaken.
So they say, but if me and you both see a wreck happen in real time, and we're both completely shocked, and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. We'll go up and talk to the police officer, and you'll tell a completely different story than what I saw.
Yeah.
I see. It's about perspective.
Yes.
But then also agreeing with what you're talking about, how your soul hears certain things, regardless of whether you believe in this or not. We just did an episode about the Balenciaga bullshit, right? Did you know that Balenciaga in Latin is do as thou wilt?
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is also the quote for Aleister Crowley's whole fucking system of being.
Do what you want, do as thou wilt.
Do as thou
Same
wilt.
thing. Yeah.
Right. So as we're saying the name Balenciaga, if you want to call
You're
it
invoking it. Yeah.
You are saying these words in Latin, which is considered a holy language. And whether you believe in this or not, whatever, your soul is acknowledging that whenever that is being said.
Well, it also translates to like if you type in the words differently into like different sections, right? It translates to Baal is king.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Yeah, dude, it's
That's
crazy shit. But yeah, so I do think that there are negative entities out there that are definitely trying to manipulate us in every single way possible. Who would have thought that a clothing brand would have anything to do with that? But here we are.
And that goes all back to occult magic. And that all goes back to subliminal messaging, magic, saying all of it.
If you look up the etymology of corporation, a corporation, because I've talked about the homunculus quite a bit, a corporation quite literally means persons united in a body for some purpose. And it's, you also have corpus, body, dead body, animal body, also a whole composed of united parts. Legal, and it means legally authorized entity, artificial person created by law from a group or succession of persons. And you mentioned, right, a clothing brand. Well, a clothing brand has sigils. They use sigils, their logos, and according to the etymology of corporation, it is a person. So they're literally using magic sigils against you in real time. So McDonald's, everybody knows that sign, dude. Everybody, the colors, all these things have an effect on the psyche, on a deeper level of everything. And this guy, obviously they developed a system of magic based heavily on will. So, because he was a contemporary with Crowley, and sex magic. So they were also doing sex magic because they believed that at the point of orgasm, you needed to be in a state of, in a different state of consciousness. So at the state of euphoria, a peak orgasm, your subconscious comes out. It's in touch with the universe. You imprint that sigil on it, and then when you come down, and I don't know if you guys saw recently on Netflix, the show Love Is Blind. I was watching it with my wife for research purposes, right? And there was a dude on there who you can look this up. He was talking about how he was pretty much initiated in the arts of tantric sex to where he was able to orgasm without ejaculation, which is part of this whole thing where they want to be in these euphoric states. And this guy was on this show boasting about how he could come without coming. And they're like, what? And,
bro. Dude, have you ever looked into sex magic?
Yes.
It is fucking wild with these people. And not only that, have you ever looked at what it's like they use sex magic, but in the sense of masturbation. Basically, you put up a vision board and you jack off on it, and it just magically appears.
That's what Parsons and now L. Ron Hubbard were doing, bro, in the middle of the desert.
Bro, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. The whole sex magic, especially the masturbation, doesn't even have to be any kind of board. It could be just whatever's really going on in your imagination. Now, this is where it gets a little sketchy whenever you're watching porn, because now you're feeding energy into that whole beast.
Bingo.
Right? But it goes even farther. Like, let's say you're thinking of, I don't know, a superstar of Hollywood or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to strangely see like odd coincidences line up in your life.
Sure.
Let's say you're thinking about a girl that you've always wanted to, date or something like that.
And you know this from experience, bro? You know this from experience?
You'll start to randomly see that, like, they reach out to you after not paying you any attention.
What the fuck?
Yes, absolutely.
So when you put it out into the ether, the universe responds, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. And that's why I look at God as a source, as the force, call it as whatever you want. I think that it will work to your will. And a lot of people, not religious people, actually the opposite of religious people, will say, look, you can have faith. It doesn't necessarily need to be religious. So whenever you have faith that something will happen, there is actual power to that. So I don't know, dude.
And
like
there is
how
definitely
the whole like magic plays into that. I just know
1,000%, because there's something about speaking things into existence, bro. Even my book, even the
Bible word grammar comes from grimoire. A grimoire is a magic book of recipe, a magical recipe. So literally that word etymology, because we're talking about language, when you're spelling. In movies, they have a person in charge of casting. They have the person that casts people. And if you really dig deeper and think about the idea of what these characters mean, I think about it. Plato, he had the Platonic solids, the Archimedean solids. You had all these different things. There were concepts because they were obsessed with turning their ideas into Platonic solids. And this comes into the Merkabahs and all these things where they're able to transport their consciousness in these shapes. Now, if you think about the idea of an actor, well, it was an entity, if you think about it, in the director or writer's mind that he manifested into a medium. And now this actor is portraying whatever force that was in the theory of, Plato talked about the theory of forms in this other dimension. He grabbed it from there, put it into a script like scripture. And then this actor is now invoking, and you have actors all the time talking about, it just takes over me. It just, it comes to me, and I become this character, almost like some sort of egregore or parasite or something that comes into them. And it all manifested from the mind of some writer. I mean, if you think about the series of Game of Thrones and all these worlds of these intricate we're talking about the Force, Star Wars. I mean, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Oh, dude, you see these guys that do method acting, they completely lose their fucking minds. I mean, hell, we've had a few of them actually take their own lives because of it. Heath Ledger being one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they truly commit themselves to that role, and they really dig into that character so deep, they truly do lose touch with reality.
So we know that the call them the dark governments, the CIA, the different branches of
the lizard people,
all of that. We know that they're in talks with certain social media platforms. They're in touch with Hollywood. They're in talks with all that. That's how they're able to push all of their propaganda. And what is strange is that whenever these actors get on screen, they're trying to portray a different personality. Well, now if I like that character that they're playing, they know this. If I like the character that they're playing, well, now I'm more likely to listen to whatever their political beliefs are or whatever they think should be happening.
Subconsciously.
Right? As a result of that. Like, oh my God, Seth Rogen, he's so funny. I wonder what his political beliefs are. And here he is like talking about, I don't know, just he's friends with pedophiles. Maybe he's a pedophile himself. It's weird.
I like Iron Man. I'm not like a fan of RDJ as a human being. I'm a fan of Iron Man.
Right. But some
I don't know. Maybe RDJ
that.
is badass. Maybe he's like a solid guy. I don't know him personally. I can't make that claim.
He might be. You know who I just became an unfan of? Unfanned. George Clooney.
Oh, what?
Doesn't he have an island, dude? Like an island where he takes people to?
Yes.
Very Epstein-like.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as George Clooney, he's asking, like, somebody asked him, should everybody get the vaccine?
Why?
And he's basically saying, yes, it should be mandatory. And if you end up, basically if you end up dying, then your family shouldn't be able to get the life insurance money from that because you were too stupid to not get it. And it's all kind of weird shit, dude. Like there's certain people out there, you're like, oh man, George Clooney, he's a man's man. Everybody loves him. The women love him. The men want to be him, all that kind of shit. But then you hear his political views.
And I've never wanted to be George Clooney.
I've
never understood the hype. These women swoon over him.
Yeah.
He looks like a bag of dog shit. I'm sorry. He doesn't look good.
Well,
objectively, as a straight guy, like, Brad Pitt, I totally understand.
Yeah.
Ashton Kutcher makes
Ryan
perfect
Gosling. Yeah.
I totally get it. All right.
Yeah.
George Clooney, bruh. He's looked 40 since he was 20.
well,
It's all that adrenochrome, bro. I mean,
That's what it is.
it's all that soul harvesting that they're doing. So
Is that frazzle drip, dude? What's her name? Abramovich.
yeah. But you bring up a good point to where, when you're watching pornography or whatever, and this energy that you're putting out into the world, it may not be, because it's not always intentional. It's sometimes unintentionally done. But since they understand how this works, it's fine. But even when they put movies out, people give their energy to it. People become fans. They buy the tickets. They buy the merch. They buy all this stuff, and they're feeding that beast per se. And like I recently did a de-occulting of the first episode, A New Hope, and we were talking. I mean, maybe it was different back then, but the first 3 movies, were they actually that good, or was it just hype? You know what I'm saying? Like, were they actually good enough to where it's like, wow, this is mind blowing? Maybe I wasn't around for the time to experience it, but when looking back at it now, it's like, this is kind of garbage. But the Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces, speaks to us primally. It speaks to our, again, that subconscious, that deeper thing inside of us, and I think that's what captivated millions and millions of people that in turn emulate this world, this other reality.
Dude, I don't even think. Yes, I'm fully here for that, but I think that it's so deep, dude, because you got to think. I think that whenever you're looking at a movie, it's not, or not even just a movie. Let's just say you're having a thought. I don't think we just, some people write a book and they're like, oh, I channeled this information, right? So I don't even think that you only channel information. I think that you channel certain energies, and these movies and whatever they're trying to portray, it doesn't even have to be anything demonic. I think that it could literally be anything.
Catching a download, is that what your kind would call this?
I don't know what you mean by you people, first of all, and secondly, I don't appreciate your tone.
I don't mean no. There was no tone on that. I'm honestly, I'm trying to understand because I hear people. I'm not going to say you people because that's rude, Jonathan.
Whenever somebody says that they're catching a download, it's the same thing as somebody saying
having an epiphany.
Jesus told me a message or some shit. It's the same thing.
Having a come to Jesus moment, having an epiphany, the light bulb goes off.
Same difference.
It's
all the same thing.
With you. Okay.
And so whenever you're talking about the ether, dude, I mean, it doesn't matter what you believe. It's that you do believe, right? And that's where the faith comes in. And so it doesn't matter really where you think you're channeling that information from. If you think that it's good, then maybe it'll be good. If you think that it's bad, maybe it'll be bad. Maybe you're in a bad mood, so only the message that you're going to get is going to be bad. And so basically, I think that we channel emotions as well. Like, so whenever I'm watching or even just how we act. So whenever I'm watching a TV show or a movie, let's say Sons of Anarchy is on my mind right now. So I'll say Sons of Anarchy.
Fuck yeah.
Whenever I'm watching Sons of Anarchy, I stop watching that. As soon as I'm done with an episode, I feel like I'm a badass biker, Jax, who just wants to go and slay Poon all the time. You know what I'm saying? Who is just like knocking out all the different kind of gangsters and all that stuff.
Sure.
I might be weird on that, but who's to say that there aren't millions of other people that feel that same way?
Dude, I used to want to be, so these rappers growing up, I wanted to be 50 Cent. I wanted to be DMX. I wanted to be all these rappers. I remember watching like a Jet Li movie. I think it was Back to the Grave or something. I remember DMX came out with that movie. And I remember watching like a Jet Li movie or whatever. I think it's Jet Li. And how you're saying, watching all these karate moves and everything, I wanted to fucking do that, like after being, so it's like how you're saying, it's kind of like you mirror that, you emulate it because it's kind of already in there, and you're just now getting around to Sons of Anarchy. That's a great show, dude.
Maybe I'm just weird because I actually did all of the things like I watched growing up that I want to do that. I saw Saving Private Ryan, boom, became a Marine. I watched A Knight's Tale one too many times, boom, I'm doing armored combat MMA shit, right?
Yes. And who's to say that it's an accident that you saw those at the specific time that you did? So I don't know. This is where the whole topic or the idea that comes in from do we actually have free will? If we're constantly being swayed in one direction or another, where are, like, okay, so let's say I wake up and it's 5:55 in the morning. Okay, that's weird. That's a weird coincidence. See that, that numerology right there. Some people put a lot of thought into it. Oh, I'm on my way. It says that it's going to take me 55 and a half minutes to get to work. Or I pull up and I see a license plate that says 555. These things play into our subconscious, and we have no free will to decide whether we see them or not.
Okay.
And so maybe we can be guided in a certain direction.
But could it also be bullshit?
It could also just be a strange series of coincidences.
Maybe our mind is just looking for patterns. I've heard that too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, humans are creatures of habit,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are pattern-oriented creatures. That's just how we are. Our chemical makeup in our brain does it. Of course, you have the anomalies. You have people that see things differently. That not them excluded on this one. As a whole, humans do that. That makes perfect sense, bro. But then at the same time, you're saying about free will. I believe that destiny and free will are both happening at the same time in parallel with each other. Neither is better or worse than the other. They just are what they are. It just is what it is.
Basically, the idea of free will is there true free will, or are there outside influences that?
Well, now you're getting into simulation territory where this is all pre-planned. Is deja vu and echo in space and time? What is all that? There's children who remember their past lives. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They have the same birthmarks as other people that were born. So, and I think that these elites know this, and that's why they are so patient. They don't care because they know they're going to either be reincarnated as a grasshopper or something later on, or they believe in karmic retribution or whatever they refer to it. Spar believed that the power of will is capable of fulfilling any deeply held desire. And again, the formula called for creating sigils or talismans is an alphabet of desire. And the way that you would do it is you would write it down, repeating letters are crossed out, and the remaining letters are made into some sort of symbol or a sigil. The sigil is impressed upon the subconscious by staring at it, so meditating on it. And the original desire is then let go so that the God within can work undisturbed towards the desired end. Very interesting.
Sigil magic's pretty wild too, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that has to go back to sacred geometry.
Yes.
Because the sigil itself and the shape itself, while it is a certain pattern and that in itself has a certain power associated with it, the sacred geometry associated with each and every bend, angle, curve, line in the entire sigil equates mathematically and very Kabbalist.
You touched on it though, because math, I think that's what the Pythagoreans were on. They were onto some shit, because by Pythagoras or the Pythagoreans saying all is number, they're hinting at some sort of binary code, some sort of simulation, and then that would hint at some sort of creator or architect. And there actually is a phenomenon that people see numbers. They see number forms. They see
numbers are the one language that completely equate in every way, shape, and form in our existence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Math is math, whether you're in China, England, US, doesn't matter. But then when you break down growth patterns of things, when you break down seasons, cycles, temperature, everything about our existence exists because of a certain numbers. It's all it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense to go onto that. And I think the Pythagoreans, if I'm not mistaken, were the first real cult to really acknowledge that and really do some real deep diving into that, into the spiritual side of numbers. But that's not to say that Pythagoras himself wasn't an absolute psychopath. Like, let's also not speed bump past all his shit. Okay, he was a genius, but he was also fucking horrible.
Yeah, I actually have a presentation exclusively on Rockfin of the Pythagorean number symbolism, where I go from the monad all the way to the decad and beyond, and I break all them down, because it's almost like they learn how to construct life. But they say that it all starts with the cube. The cube is the procreator of everything. So from the cube, everything else multiplies. So it's weird, because you see the cube symbolism in all these movies, and the Transformers, Hellraiser, at fucking Mecca, bro.
I'll take a step further. How about the black cube that the rabbis wear on their forehead that's actually supposed to be the direction facing towards the Holy Land? Then you have Mecca, which is a black cube, which I actually would love to do a dive on that as well, because come to find out, the entire basis of Islam is based off of absolute horseshit. Mecca itself is not a holy site. It was a holy site to pagan gods before Muhammad ever was born. We need to do a whole episode on that one. But Maybe not, because I don't want to throw shade at a whole religious group, because that's going to make it seem like I'm hate-filled, and I'm not.
By the way, those are Jacob's words. Those
Yeah,
are Jacob's
you've
words.
already said them, bro. They're already out in the ether. I mean, that was recorded there. Anybody can take that. But
I mean, it is what it is. That was
but
not a
think about it, bro.
message.
Because we're talking about the Pythagoreans. I mean, the oldest religion that we know of, and I don't know if you guys have had Esoteric Eddie on, but it all started with the Anunnaki, and from there, everything else, they paved the way for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, religion started from that. So, I mean, the Pythagoreans inspired the Gnostics, and the Gnostics, you had the early Christians, you had the Christians, Catholicism, all that stuff. So, I mean, they're kind of sort of piggybacking off of one another. And if you look at church history, they would take these pagan sites and do what? They would build right on top of them. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So, like, you have a Mithraeum.
I disagree with what you were saying, by the way. I'm a Christian, but I do like the talking points. Go on.
No,
Well,
yeah.
I wanted to stay on the whole cube thing because it seems like whenever you're talking about religion, how they kind of overlap with each other, the Gnostics and the Pythagoreans and Christianity and everything that came really from this whole Anunnaki story,
Mm-hmm.
right? But whenever we're looking at the cube, they do all worship this cube.
Yes.
Maybe it is some kind of
It goes back to
geometric weird thing that they go back to. But whenever we're talking about the cube, dude, and then you see Saturn and the storm that is formed in a cube, and
it goes back to cubes and pyramids. When you really break down the big ones that like were that important that they made whole religions about them, they worshipped and idolized and constructed these massive things around it. It's always pyramids and cubes, man.
Yeah, so it is really weird, but I do love the.
I say that. What was that island that they built all the spheres?
They built all the.
It was in
spheres.
Peru, I think it was. It was these massive, like 8-ton rocks.
Talk about the
that
Olmecs, like the Olmec. They
Yeah.
were worshiping the stone, the stone balls.
Yeah, and apparently the civilization just became obsessed with these things to the point that they died out making them, as far as we can tell.
Well, there's the whole thing of Ben stones and these stones that draw people in. The stone at Mecca it actually has a meteorite in it, if I'm not mistaken, and the lore goes that's the whole thing with the alchemists. They had stolen that stone, they ground it up, and when they had returned it, it was 60% smaller, if I'm not mistaken. And you have stories of the red powder of projection with Edward Kelly and other alchemists of their time, and that they were using this powder to turn base metals into gold. Well, the reason that they weren't able to recreate it was because they literally had a meteorite, and when they would run out, they weren't able to get another meteorite, so they weren't able to do the transmutation again. So they were using this red powder projection. The conspiracy goes that it was actually ground up meteorite that came from this stone at Mecca, and I mean that's the story, essentially how it goes.
Hey, that would make it a religious site for any new religion that would pop up.
I don't know, dude. I feel like they say that we're made up of a certain percentage of space dust.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we are
Right?
completely stardust.
Like
Mhm.
it's not that crazy to think that everything that is here is not from here, that maybe this is just a newer place and we all came from somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
So whenever people have past life regressions and they're aliens or they're living on a different timeline, we know that time is not linear, that it's simultaneous, that the past is the present, is the current.
Time is bullshit. It was a Catholic Jesuit that came up with Joseph Scaliger came up with Scaligerian chronology, and it's the AD BC system that we know today. It's literally man-made, so we don't know when I hate when they throw around these 2 billion years ago. Can you even begin to comprehend 2 billion years? You know how many
Right.
miles are in 1 light year? 7 trillion. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not trying to get, because I know some people say space is fake and gay. You got that crowd.
I'm with you on that. They throw out these massive numbers. It is an inconceivable number.
Yes.
We could never get what a light year would actually look like. We have no idea of how old the Earth is.
Yeah, whenever they say billions, dude, people can't even I can't fathom that number, because if you think of a billion, it is literally a million millions.
I think it's
That's
part
what
of the
billion is.
it's part of the I don't want to say psyop, but the
Thousands, yeah.
psychological warfare, because that it kind of makes you trip out. Like, you can't think about it, like 7 billion, and you just stop thinking about it because you just can't comprehend it.
No.
But
My brain kind of goes around like 3 million and kind of tapers off at that point, honestly. It's that big, whatever.
I mean, I just think about what you can fit in a football stadium, and most of them, like Ohio State, can fit like 105,000 people. I don't know.
I
I mean,
if it's
and that looks like an absolute shitload of people.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So whenever we're trying to count, you know, a million things or a billion things, we can't.
It's crazy to me.
It's inconceivable. So yeah, whenever they do get to the science, and we were actually just having this talk earlier about like Jacob is an all the way ball earther. Okay, he is not coming off of this whole stance.
I'm a globist. I'm sorry, we live on a sphere, in my opinion.
I'm
a glober too, bro. It's all right.
I'm just saying, based off of what I know as far as laws of physics, you know.
Listen. The reason that we're here is because at one point in time, at least me, I had somebody's ideas being forced on me. Now, and the thing is that the truther community has turned around. And now they're trying to force their ideas on other people. No, motherfucker. The reason that we're here is because you had people trying to, and now you're turning around and doing the same to other people. No, I think we should be able to have a conversation civilly and talk about it. If you want to believe the earth is flat and gay and whatever, that's fine. Cool.
Do you?
I don't think, but how does that work when you launch out into space? Do you become a homosexual? Like, how does that work? Because I don't even know the mechanics of that. You know what I'm saying?
There's no air out there, and no air is gay. Vacuums are gay. That's why they suck so much. They
suck. Yeah.
Just the vacuum of reality itself.
Oh my God.
Space sucker. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I'm not saying that necessarily I think the earth is flat, but I could see an argument as to why it's not a sphere. And I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, if it's more of a philosophical thing, obviously there is no science. Like as far as, I mean, there is whenever you talk about the what is it? The curvature of feet, curved.
No, dude, we can agree that the government is full of shit. That's all we can agree on. We're never going to know unless you launch yourself up there and see it from the outside if it's actually true or not. And that's why these flat earthers, they'll take a picture and be like, you see, the sun is actually not as far away as they say it is, or the clouds are looking funny today, so it's XYZ. I go, all right, dude. I mean, sure,
right?
You know, but and a lot of people now in the community, it's like if you can't explain, it's CGI, it's a deep fake, or it's Mandela effect, or whatever they say nowadays.
Everything is so easily explained with that shit, right? And I mean, agreed though with your point that nobody trusts the government. Black, white, gay, straight, man, woman, age bracket, tax bracket, doesn't matter. If you ask anyone of any country, do you trust your government? No one trusts them.
They're full of shit.
It's gone to a point to where, or it is to a point to where that it is insanely difficult, if not impossible, to get to the absolute bare truth itself.
Oh, it's a construct at this point.
There's been stories on stories on stories. Nobody knows exactly what to believe. You got stories layering on top of other stories, kind of working together to form a whole nother story. Who knows what the hell to believe? Yeah. All I believe is all I believe is what I've experienced. All right. And that's all I know.
It's phenomenology is what it is. If you experience it, it's real to you. It's the phenomenology. I don't know how to say it. Phenomenology. It's when you.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that's right. Whatever. Anyways, Google it. So this Spar guy, he had I guess somebody who initiated him. He had a lady that he grew really close to because his mother had died, and she was named Miss Patterson. Now, Miss Patterson initiated him, and he called her his witch mother. And supposedly, he said that she possessed great skill in divination, had the ability to materialize her thoughts. And Miss Patterson taught Spar how to visualize and evoke spirits and elementals, and how to reify his dream imagery. And she also initiated Spar in a witch's Sabbath, which he described as taking place in another dimension. And this is the part that stood out to me, because he says, where cities were constructed of an unearthly geometry, right? So when he says unearthly geometry, I automatically think about H.P. Lovecraft. I don't know if you guys have read into H.P. Lovecraft or not, and his whole mythos. He talks about cities having non-Euclidean geometry, and this guy's talking.
That's Cthulhu, correct?
Yeah, Cthulhu. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude.
So it made me think of that as soon as they said, unearthly geometry. So it's almost like some, color out of space type of thing that you can't comprehend. And also it goes on here to say that, let me find the the thing where he goes, despite his ability to paint the spirits and images he saw, Spar was occasionally at a loss for words to describe some of his more bizarre experiences. Some of his visions put him in a place that he was only able to describe as spaces beyond spaces. So I think this dude was trying to, again, because we're talking about layers of reality being stacked on top of each other, you know, essentially the multiverse or whatever it is. Well, what if there is a way, maybe through the use of psychedelics, maybe through the use of meditation, maybe through the use of something, whatever it is, you're able to transcend through that, right? This guy was initiated.
Like you said, it was another dimension because, and that's another theory as far as a parallel universe type of situation. They would have a color spectrum that we can't see with our eyes, but it's there, right? They would have smells that we don't recognize. They would, you know what I'm saying? Our five senses wouldn't work on that playing field. So if you were to teleport yourself, quote unquote, whatever your flavor of getting to this place, it would look like a completely, you wouldn't be able to describe anything that you're seeing. So that makes perfect sense that it would go in line.
Well, dude, reality itself is only the way that you see it because you're looking at it.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets into the whole double slit experiment, how observable reality acts completely different than reality that isn't being observed.
Yeah.
I mean, does a bear shit in the woods if we don't see it? I mean,
the answer is yes, for the record.
The answer is yes, but I don't know, dude. It gets really weird and freaky whenever it comes to it, like an atomic level.
Sure.
And you know, then it comes into the whole Mandela effect. Are we living on different timelines? Are they trying to bring forth different, like open up portals to different timelines? Is that what CERN's doing with the Hadron Collider? And like,
oh, there's so many theories of what they're doing over there, man.
Dude, but think about how psychedelic what they're doing is. How mind bent. They're clashing atoms to, so they say they're clashing atoms together to find the Higgs boson, which they already have. And essentially a Higgs boson, when it has a different mass in every dimension that it's in. So if they find a Higgs boson and it has a different mass, they've essentially tapped into another dimension. That's the whole thing. But the problem is that you also have these quantum computer nerds like the guy Jordy Rose from D-Wave Computing, where he talks about how they are summoning like Cthulhu's, you know, H.P. Lovecraft's great old ones into this dimension. Like, is that what AI is? Is AI some sort of spirit? You know, D-Wave, it makes me think of John D, you know, like D-Wave computers. Like, what do you want? Because they talk, this is their language. I'm not making this up. You can look it up. And they go, you know, these entities that we're summoning into our worlds. Like, wait a minute, wait a minute, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. What do you want? Because I think that what they're messing with, they've put a different name on it, but essentially it's magic, man. It's the occult. It's, you know, it's the spooky action at a distance that these guys talked about back then, except they're not in caves anymore and they're not in robes. They're in white coats in some sophisticated lab somewhere. And they're, you know, CERN is built on top of an old Apollo temple or some crazy shit like that.
What I'm afraid of is that scientists will not understand what they're tapping into. And I believe that what I personally, now I could, for the record, be completely wrong, and it is going to be just fine when they tap into the other side of existence. I don't know, but I personally do not see anything good coming from it. That's just me.
I mean, dude, if you could harness a certain energy to gain control over the world, can you question that these people wouldn't do it?
I believe that they're tapping into certain forces that they really don't understand, and I think that they're going to open up something that they can't close.
Almost
I'm going to leave it at that.
Almost like playing with a Ouija board.
Okay, think of a Ouija board, but on a literal interdimensional, possibly intergalactic, possible black hole scale.
Yeah.
And that's what World War II, that's what I believe World War II was about. It was an occult war. It wasn't about what they actually say it was about. Now, I'm not denying that certain events didn't happen in history. I'm going to just say that.
I know where you're going.
I'm going to just say that, okay?
Uh-oh.
But I think that there was a much, you know, like the weapons of mass destruction, while there was a deeper level to that. It wasn't just what we, you know, it's not the exoteric. That's what they feed. That's the bullshit they feed people. You always got to be paying attention and read between the symbols because, you know, Saddam Hussein thought he was the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar. He was collecting different artifacts, etc., etc. If you look into why they killed Gaddafi, it's like what he was doing, because again, if they can industrialize it, look at why they killed Nikola Tesla. They don't want the regular man to have it. No. It's only for us. You know what I'm saying? Only for us.
Right.
So again, and I don't know how you feel about that because you were in the system or you were, you served for the country. So I don't know how that makes you feel that they've sometimes used other people who've served in the military for bad shit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I'm fully aware that that's what it is. It's the I try not to advise people to join the military. However, in saying that, I understand that I would be advocating for our country to be defenseless. So, like, I super support the military, of course. I support our servicemen and women being a vet, of course. But
personally to the person.
Right. But the government itself that I do not trust, this is the military armed wing of that organization. I'll leave it at that.
The governmental industrial complex.
Oh, and that's what runs it all, man.
Yikes. Yeah, no, and it can get really sensitive because I believe, my personal opinion, it all goes back to alchemy, the transmutation of energy. Any exchange of energy is alchemy. So when they're transforming people, I think, what I'm saying, like, and the magnum opus of alchemy is to quite literally bring forth the end of the world, which, if you look at how things are now, it may seem like that, like almost like we're at the brink of this greater thing that's a World War III, perhaps, and all these things. Well,
bring it. We killed the last two. We're ready.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, and I think that's what they're trying to either usher in.
They don't want this smoke.
If they don't usher in some sort of interdimensional alien to come and destroy us all, then I think it goes back to Pythagoras. He said, if you can destroy even one grain of sand, if man can destroy one grain of sand, he will eventually destroy himself. And I think we're a little bit too past that already. So I don't know, man. And I think the alchemists, again, they were about bringing forth the end of time as well.
I think that it's in human nature to destroy ourselves. Why are the funnest activities the most harmful, right? Why is the best food the worst for you? I think that it's inevitable that we are gonna, we're self-destructive creatures. We're not meant to live forever. I think we're designed that way by nature.
But I love that you brought up the whole esoteric kind of thing. The exoteric is the bullshit that they feed you, that they want you to think is what's really going on as far as spiritual forces or religious reasons or whatever. Whenever really deep on the inside, we know that whenever you're looking even at just the Catholic Church, let's say for an example, they're feeding us a bunch of exoteric bullshit. Whenever really
paganism,
it's the esoteric, what they hold true to their hearts, what they actually believe.
Yeah.
Whenever
their faith,
it's not of God itself, right? And so these people are feeding off of whatever call it negative energy. Maybe they're just manipulating that energy to be negative. Whenever we think of Satan, we think of something bad. Whenever we think of Jesus, we think of something good, yada, yada, right? But I think that you can manipulate energy in any kind of way. And so whenever you talk about the whole sigil magic and the subconscious thing that goes on in your mind, whenever you're looking at certain sigils, certain icons, whenever you're talking about the whole McDonald's logo and all that shit, it's designed to send a message that is, it's like it's in our DNA to understand what those colors mean.
Like the Pornhub logo, right? You know what I'm saying? You get me, bro? You get me? Like the Pornhub.
I'll tell you what, the big dollar sign ad agencies, the think tank for those organizations, the ones that actually make that logo, the ones that actually make that jingle that is stuck in your head, those people are the ones you really need to watch.
It's the neuro-linguistic programming.
Exactly.
They know exactly what to say in order for your...
Are you able to mix hypnotism into any of this at all? Like with the different wavelengths and all that stuff in the mind? Does that play a role into any of this?
Dude, there's so much that goes into hypnotism that people are totally like unaware of. And a lot of people say, oh, I can't be hypnotized, or, I don't believe in hypnotism. I don't know if it'll work on me. And I just say, bro, have you ever watched TV for more than 60 seconds? You've been hypnotized. Because whenever the TV is on, it turns you into, so naturally we're in beta state of mind. That's our alert awareness. Like our conscious is fully, here. Whenever the TV's on, you go into alpha. It's a light trance, right? So that's why whenever somebody's talking to you, you know, and you're watching TV, let's say the game's on or whatever, you're watching the Steelers whoop somebody's ass, or
I'm in beta right now, right? Because I'm listening. I'm just like,
yeah,
Right.
yeah. But the longer I talk, maybe you slip into alpha. That's the trick.
mm,
But yeah, so that's whenever you're in alpha, you know, somebody tries to get your attention. You're kind of like, what did you even say? I'm trying to
Yeah.
I can't pay attention to two things at once. It grabs your attention, whatever, that's an alpha. And then it goes into the theta state of mind, which is where we try to take you whenever it comes to hypnotizing. So whenever you're in theta, that is the mind of a child. A child is always in theta up until they're like 6 or 7 years old.
interesting.
And so that's how they're able to learn so much faster than we are.
Yeah.
Because they're in that extremely, you can sway them in whatever you want. Like a kid, 9 times out of 10 will grow up to be a certain person because of what they experienced up until they were 6 or 7 years old.
The developmental stage, right? That is like critical to
That's
how
crazy.
they develop emotionally as a person, as stress levels, anxiety, all of that.
Yeah, and so and there's more that goes into it though. Whenever you're in that theta state of mind, you have access to, maybe you can call it information that you forgot, you know, coming through in this human form. Maybe you had access to whatever kind of other intelligence before you know, were ultimately born into this body. But whenever you're in theta, that's why people can recall certain events whenever they're being hypnotized, is because you have access to that kind of information. I can't describe it. I mean, I don't even know why it works, to be honest with you. Maybe you're just at a more relaxed state of mind, and you know, your conscious mind is not having that inward chatter that we always have telling us, no, that's not the thing.
And for people that don't believe it's real, it works so well that it's actually admissible in court.
Absolutely.
What?
I'm gonna throw that out. Yeah, you could actually, if you were a witness to an event that happened, let's say you were in a grocery store and you saw a robbery happen, and you can't really recall the facial features, you can actually go under hypnosis. And if you saw, for instance, a neck tattoo that you didn't remember before, any of that is actual proof that they can roll with in court and
crazy.
look for a suspect. Oh, that's a total thing.
Yeah, dude. And they played with this a lot, especially in the 60s with MK Ultra and the brainwashing and all that.
No, they didn't play with it. They just force-fed a bunch of mental patients LSD for 6 months.
Oh, well, then they ultimately mastered it. And that's where the, you know, all the propaganda that's on TV and everything is coming from. But
who's ever heard of medical consent, right?
Well, I've done an episode on MK Ultra, like a deep dive with Paranoid American, and my whole thing is, what do we not know about? That wasn't.
That's what we found out.
That's what we found. If you know the official story, that they found the files in some, you know, an assistant found them in some room. Sure, I want to know the stuff that was so deep, you know, that was destroyed before we even got our hands on it. You know, so that's why when somebody tells me, "Oh, I trust my government," yeah, you do. I mean, they don't really care about you. I mean, you're just another cog in the system. You're just another disposable thumb or whatever you want to call it. And so I give them the laundry list of false flags and things that they've done to their people. It's crazy, bro. It goes so deep.
I like to show people the list of cities that are now lakes that were once thriving black communities.
Yes.
And that went all the way up until the 50s, and I think even 60s and 70s, I think was the last
like
one.
Haunted now. I don't know if you've seen the one. I think it's in Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah. So
not like that was way back yesteryear. That was like just last century.
Yeah. One person's lifetime ago, 40 years ago, whatever it was.
Right.
You know,
that was
50
Mama.
years.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's called the Great American Experiment for a reason. That's why it's the same thing whenever we're talking about hospitals. They're practicing.
Yeah.
Like nobody.
Democracy is an experiment, right?
Sure.
We are the longest running experiment of a democratically elected government to date. And so far, it has been, the bicycle is still upright. You know what I mean? We're still balanced as of now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not an easy balance by any stretch of the imagination, but as of now, the experiment is still successful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most successful in all of human history.
That's why we kill shit. We're just kind of winning at everything.
Until we don't.
Yeah.
Because it's inevitable. It's inevitable that it will eventually stop working.
I don't know.
It has to be.
I honestly don't know. I'm not saying that we are too big to fail. I don't believe that. But at the same time, I don't know what us failing would actually look like. I think it would have to be internal.
Mm-hmm.
Like we wouldn't get conquered by somebody else. We would completely implode on ourselves because we just let it go that far.
I mean, if history is any guide, then you could say that, what is it, like once every 200 and some odd
Like
years?
300 years.
250 to 300, the new
Right.
empire rises and dies. And that's
Right.
actually always what happens. It gets too big, they completely lose their shit and implode from the inside, right?
Mhm.
Dude, if Atlantis can fall,
Well,
I'm a huge
now-
believer in all that. That I think that eventually Atlantis probably got a little bit corrupt in the same way.
And if you watch that show I was telling you about, the Netflix show,
Conspiracy something.
it's a conspiracy show. Damn it. Well, we were just
The
talking
cartoon one?
Inside Job.
Yeah, Inside Job.
They even make a reference to Atlantis being like in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. They had to cover
I mean,
it
bro,
up.
look at Graham Hancock's new show, bro. It's all about Atlantis, about a lost civilization. You know, they're pushing it hard. I mean,
Fucking love Graham Hancock.
so to bring it all full circle, because there is one part where I'm like, hey, if this guy was so powerful and he could use his subconscious to conjure up things and use it for his will, he died penniless. And he was spent most of his life as a recluse living in poverty in London. He was remote and detached, preferring the company of his cats to that of human beings. He is considered a source of modern chaos magic. So this dude died penniless, didn't have anything. So I'm like, if this actually worked, that's why I said it could all be bullshit. Right? It could all be bullshit. And if this actually worked, don't you think he would have used it for the betterment of his life instead of dying in poverty?
I don't know. I think it worked. I believe chaos only leads to one conclusion, and I think he found what he was looking for. He died penniless. That's what chaos leads to. Sorry.
Not necessarily, dude, because you see that people that are able to discover certain scientific things, such as cars being able to run on water. Are they crazy?
There's a difference between having like scatterbrain organized chaos and being a true agent of chaos. We're talking about two different things here.
Sure, but the everyday person, like, I don't know, just Joe Schmo down the street, if he is just going along with the everyday wake up, go to work, come back home, maybe clean your house, play with your kids, have a good time with your wife, whatever. If you're going through that same process every single day, you're highly unlikely to be able to come in contact with certain things that maybe a quote unquote crazy person would. And so that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that it is easy to call somebody crazy. It's very easy. We've met a lot of crazy people. I'm not saying I'm not saying they don't exist. What I am saying is that sometimes people are called crazy just as a cover up for what they actually discovered. And so
but if he discovered something that works and like you'll get rich and famous off of and all that shit, he failed miserably at it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I believe that he discovered what chaos would lead him to, and it didn't matter. He was literally chaos magic was his thing. I believe that chaos is not a positive thing. I believe that true.
It's in a different context in this. So
what is the context of his chaos magic?
So let me find it here. But yeah, so that the name chaos, it's not exactly what you think of it to be.
Okay.
Let me find it here. 1 second. I had it pulled up and now I don't. But yeah, keep talking. Here we go. So chaos magic developed in the 1960s that dispensed at the pomp and ceremony of ritual magic and invocation of gods and spirits. So he was considered the father of chaos magic, and for his emphasis on the power of the subconscious mind and his system of sigils, chaos magic is not about disorder as the name might imply, but rather focuses on order that is beyond conscious understanding. So it's
all right. So my entire talking point just got
that's so yeah. When you think of chaos, it's chaos. Erratic. No. It's that you can't even begin to comprehend. That's why he was digging into, and he even said himself, if you are able to tap into this, one of two things is going to happen to you. Either you're going to drive yourself insane, or I forgot what the other thing. But a lot of people that he worked with went insane. Look at Crowley. A lot of his almost all his wives went insane. What if he was giving these things up as some sort of offering for whatever was on the other side, to be like, hey, here, take this as an offering, the Full Metal Alchemist, the law of equivalent exchange type of thing, where it's like, so that's what that means. It's as the name, but rather focus on an order that is beyond conscious understanding. Yikes.
Dude, and so we as a human race, we need some kind of order. Like there has to be order. There has to be certain levels of which you won't go beyond, that
Yeah.
you almost got to keep yourself in check on certain things, because
You got to
if
have
you
limits.
if you go too far beyond, then you start to, I guess, come across things that kind of burst your level or your understanding of what reality even is. Like if you found out today that God doesn't exist, Jesus doesn't exist, hell doesn't exist, heaven doesn't exist, and we just die. Whenever we die,
Yeah.
there is nothing. There is just nothingness. And it
Okay.
never happens ever again, and nothing ever happened before, and we're just here by some bacterial means. If you were to understand that, you would live your life, and I don't care what anybody says. If you knew that you weren't being judged, you would live your life an entirely different way.
Honestly, I can say that that's not true for me personally.
Maybe.
Honestly, and I'm being as dead ass honest as I can be. If I, for what, somehow found out right now that all of every religion doesn't matter, we are all accidentally here, it is just a crazy coincidence, and when you die, it's just darkness. That's it. It's all you got. That literally made my basis of what I consider reality is in I only got this one shot at life, and I got to make the fucking most of it.
Mm-hmm.
All that did was just solidify that. So I'm honestly not going to be changing up on my day to day, but that's just me.
What about the last week of your life?
Um,
Would that be any different? Let's say you're 50 years old and you've been
Oh, I
told
was
you
gonna
have
say, hold
1
on.
week to
the
live.
last week of my life has been extra chaotic. So that being in mind of all what was going on,
somebody says that you have 1 week to live. You're in perfect health. You have all the money that you can do whatever you want. You trying to tell me you'd be going to work?
all of the money I want comes with this stipulation? No, that's different. That's different.
Would you be going to work?
Oh, no. If I had all the money in the world and I knew I had 1 week to live, sure, I would do all kinds of other shit.
So
But
your
I'm
life
talking
would
about-
change if you knew there was no repercussion to it.
If I had the ability to do more shit, I'm saying with the hand that I was dealt with this life,
Mm-hmm.
even if I found out that all religion and all that's bullshit, all that, I'm still only going to do what I've got because this is literally me doing my best. You know what I mean? And that's all I could do.
It's a valid argument. I like it.
That's
I
just
like
me,
it.
though.
Any
Sorry.
closing thoughts, boys? They want to add before we get the fuck out of here?
No, sorry, we were kind of all over the board, but that's just
We
how
do
we roll.
that.
That's just how we roll. It always leads to very interesting, thought-provoking material.
Yeah.
So yeah, Juan, thank you so much for having us on your show. And this was
Thanks for coming
legit,
on ours,
dude.
man.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I wanted to bring up this Osman Spare, because I wanted to just plant the seeds and see where it would go from there. And I think that he deserves an entire episode. I might do a deep dive on him because
Hell yeah.
he's very interesting. But yeah, I enjoyed this, and hopefully the people listening enjoy it as well. And thank you guys for coming on. This is fun.